Well, hello. Hi, everybody. It's Bev from Bev Hill Arts and Crafts. We've got this really fun little project that we're going to make together. It's in the theme of autumn with some pretty papers by Prima with pretty foil. But first, we have to build the album itself. So, in this group, you've got the download. I've expanded the spine a little bit, which gives those pages inside the album a little bit more room for them to grow. So I've got all the dimensions for you to print out and cut along with me. And you can hit pause and cut. But what I do is I've pre-cut everything and then we'll score together. And that saves me clunking in a big trimmer, taking it out and then scoring them, going back and forth. So I'm gonna flip mine back in order. This is just all the scraps I had left. And I'm gonna make sure I'm in camera so I keep my hands in camera. So give me just one seckaroo here. Yep, there I am, looking pretty good so far. Yeah, I had to switch my camera, my phone actually, because I could not get the other camera to adjust horizontal. So something's going on with the other phone. So anyway, I'm gonna reverse these. If you want to do what I did and just pre-cut all your pieces, I paper clipped them into my sets and then we will score them together. I'll read off the dimensions every time and we will craft. So I've lost my pieces of chipboard. Give me 1 second, here they are. So in your kit, you have your chipboard already cut for you. So the first thing we're gonna do is we'll get these out of the way, put them in the right order. And then because this is 7 tall on an 8.5 piece of paper, we've got plenty of room top and bottom for them to fold over. So I'm just gonna go ahead and glue mine together this direction along the 8.5 side. And before we glue, let's just make sure we have plenty of room here. That would be my spine. And there would be my other piece. So plenty of room. That's the way I'm gonna glue mine down. So we need 2 pieces together because one piece just isn't big enough. And this is where I like my white glue, so I'm using Art Glitter Glue, and I'm gonna put some glue right along the seam here, right along the edge at the 8.5. And I'm going to lay my other piece of paper, and I'm overlapping maybe 1/4 of an inch. And this trick, if you lean it up against the ledge of your scoreboard, then you can glue a fairly straight edge. There we go. So now comes the fun part. I love to put my covers on my chipboard. And I move now to my clear glue. I'm just gonna give it a burnish on both edges, flip it over. So all that glue's made good contact with the fibers of this cardstock. And then I'm going to start on my left for this one. And this kind of glue, this Fabri-Tac, lets me, we're gonna have lots to be able to flip over here. So it allows me to slide it into place till I see how I like it. It looks nice and straight there. And then this one, that seam won't be right on the edge of my chipboard, so that's good. We want that placement so it's not right on the edge, so that glued together paper wouldn't fray over time. And then I'm just eyeballing. So, you know, this is not 1/4, it's smaller than 1/4, but it's wider than 1/8. So what is that, 3/16? I like to be generous in the space between because I've gone too tight, too skinny of a space, and when you try to close your album, your paper's gonna crack. You did nothing wrong, it just didn't have enough room to move and stretch. Okay, and I'm just making sure that it stays straight after I lay it down. digging real quick to see if I had my corner mitering tool, and I'm not finding it. So I'm just going to do the plain old fashioned with my scissors. I'm going to take a little bit off of this edge because there's no reason that we need to fold all that over. I'll go ahead and fold those over. So now I'm just going to cut my corner, just leaving about 1/8 of that edge. This way you can fold a nice corner of your book cover and not have it be too bulky. Throw this away. I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just pressing down along the edge here on all 4 sides. I have to hold this way sometimes. After COVID, I've got this pain in my hands that won't go away. It's kind of sudden onset arthritis. So if you see me holding it that way, I get a little relief if I do that on my joints. And I just fold my paper, kind of roll it over the edge of that chipboard just to help it get ready to live in the new place. And then I will, since I've got this glue in my hands, I will go ahead and use this. It takes a little longer to grab and set, but that's okay. I put some on my tablecloth. All right, let's see if we can move to our other end. Okay, now I'm going to turn. Again, I'm just taking my hand underneath the chipboard and then gently starting to fold that paper over. I'm going to give it a good burnish with my bone folder. Making sure my corners are tucked up there. Looks like I need to refill my glue bottle. I'm being gentle where I've glued that paper together so I don't pull it up. Once again, going around that curve, I want to neaten this one up just a little bit. There we go. Twice I've gone over. Put some glue right on my tablecloth. Now it was a super cheap tablecloth. I needed to find something to cover up my ugly white table. When I do these lives, you guys don't want to see that. Looks like this wants to fray there. Interesting. I'm gonna throw a little white glue while I can. See if I can make that become a seam back together. There we go. Yeah, it's happy again. Okay. Put my straight pin back in so that the glue will work later on. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is take my bone folder and gently along an angle, not straight down. I'm going to start making kind of a seam or an encouragement where this gap is for this album to close. And then I'm not going to be real rough on it. It looks like I need some glue right up in there. And the best thing to do is sneak in some of this glitter glue. give it a chance to set. So if you see any puckering, yeah, didn't get quite enough glue under here, I don't think. All right, let's give that a second. All right, nice this way, nice that way. So look at, we've got an album cover. Beautiful. So that's one of my favorite things to do, is cover that album with the chipboard. Just make some chipboard, turn it into an album cover. Next thing we're going to do, we need to make our hinges where our pages are going to live. So I'm going to bring my scoreboard back in, and now this is where I've already made my pre-cuts. So this is our spine, our hinge. This is 6.5 wide, and it's the 11 long. So you don't have to do anything different with the 11. So when you get that cut, come back. We're going to lay it on our scoreboard along the 11, and we're going to do a bunch of scores. And it's all on that printout, but I will read them out loud here. We can do it together. I think, yeah, I like this bone folder. Isn't that funny? We like what we like. So we're going to begin at the 2-inch. And then we're going to move to 2 3/4. And then we're going to go to 3 1/2. And then 4 1/4. And then 5. 5 3/4. 6 1/2. 7 1/4. And our last one is 8. So that's the hinges for us that we'll put in the spine. So the first two here I'm going to fold together right in the middle. So that's our first hinge. I'm going to skip the next one, and the next two. After that, I'm going to fold together. Fold them back and forth. I'm going to skip the next one and fold the last two here. All right, just like that. So now we've got 3 hinges that we're going to glue together. I always use score tape. I tried glue one time. It didn't work. It was too wet, and I felt like it warped the hinges. So I'm just going to take a little eyeball measurement before I tear my tape and put it along the, what would be the top here. So I'm going to put my score tape right along that top versus the bottom. And it wants to be a little stubborn. I'll take my bone fold and burnish it. Then it usually peels off a lot easier. I'm not going to do it there. There we go. So then just going to pinch them back together like that. Take my bone folder, give it a nice crease. I'm going to glue these two together, so same thing. I'm going to gear toward the top where I place my tape, but not over. There we go. This one was a little short, but that won't hurt anything. And one more here. See if I can measure that one a little better. Oop, and I overcompensated. Of course, right? All right, so now we have glued our 3 hinges. And I'm not seeing my pencil, or I would erase that pencil mark. So before we glue it into the album, I'm going to put score tape on both sides of each hinge. And I'm going to trim my both ends at an angle so I don't worry about it being real neat if I accidentally tear too long. But you do again want to gear toward the top now here of this hinge, both sides. Feel free to watch along and then come back and do, or hit pause until you're done with each step. However you like to create these little crafty projects. We all learn differently. And there's no right or wrong. One more. I think this is 3/8 score tape. 1/4 is just a little too narrow. I want a little bit more strength. All right, so now I'm gonna see if I can bring this up in the camera. Here's where I've got my little hinge, and I'm gonna take a little angle. I'll do that on all three at this end. Just snip a little bit off. It's gonna help us when we put our pages on. And actually the new pages here, the new dimensions, it's not very tight at all. We probably won't even need to do this step, but I'll do it just so I can clean up the edges of my score tapes. It won't hurt anything to do it. Okay. Now let's get our album cover back, and we're going to glue this in. And I want it to be even top and bottom, and I want this center hinge to be pretty centered left and right where we've got those grooves that we left that room on the chipboard. So I'm going to go ahead and use some white glue, my art glitter glue. And I'm going to be fairly generous, but I don't want it oozing out kind of a mess either. And we want it on both of these little wings, because that gives stability to the album where this hinge is going to live. All right, I'll flip it over. Let's see if I can straighten that out. Okay, so I'm going to look top, bottom, left, right. Looking pretty straight and pretty even top, bottom. All right, so I'm going to let it live there. I'm not going to make a lot of tweaks or adjustments. All right. Just burnishing everything, making sure it's all making nice contact. And then start to build those grooves again. The paper that we just added. Just at an angle back and forth. And I'm going to let that dry for a minute, because we're going to make our slide-in pages. And then after it's dried, we'll go back in and fold the cover, make sure it's all still closing. Okay, we've got 3 base page pieces, or 3 pages, and then there's 3 of each. So this set is going to be 4.5 by 6 3/4, and then the longer one is 4.5 by 7 3/4. So set the smaller ones to the side. We're going to take the larger, and along the 7 3/4, both ends of this, so I'm going to flip it completely around. We want them both to be scored at 1/2. I'm going to do that on all 3 of them. So along that 7 3/4, score 1/2 for both of them. All right. So now every time I make a score, I'm going to fold it over and burnish it so it's got a nice strong crease. Just fold over where you scored. Take your bone folder, give it a good crease. It's just going to help your album be a little crisper. Help those pages move a little easier. All right, now we're going to find the 3 smaller ones. And I'm going to use my white glue on the larger ones that we just creased. I'm going to take glue along first edge and glue them together. And again, I use my little shelf there. So it's not a perfect system, but it helps me end up with a little straighter, neater little pouch that we've just done. Grab my next one up here, lay it up against that little shelf on my scoreboard. Take my first of the larger, right where we just folded that over. That's where I'm going to add my glue and place it down. And now that it's placed down, we've got a good beginning. We'll lay down the other end. And last piece, whoops, here we go. All right. Got a little extra glue there. Might as well wipe it away if you have time to do it. All right, 3 pouches. So we're going to slide these on to our hinges here. We might as well make sure this is still closing, looking good. We've got an album. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, because this one is not tight, I'm just going to peel the whole piece of score tape away on that first side, and then I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to lay it down, not to the very bottom, because if you do go to the very bottom of your score, then your album pages won't lay down straight. So that's feeling pretty good to me. Nice and straight there. So I don't have my Cricut hook handy. I better get that. This is my favorite tool. And I don't know where I've put everything safe. So let's see if I can just peel this up with a pair of scissors. It's not the coolest in the world. My fingernails are too short. I used to do it with my fingernails. Oops, I thought I had it. So I just peeled it from the upside there. I'm peeling away. Push down. That wasn't the most graceful, but... And it looks pretty even top and bottom, so I'm okay. If not, believe me, I have ripped off my share. I'm going to peel this one all the way down, and then I'm going to cheat here a little bit. I'm going to take the back side, and I'm going to peel it down maybe maybe an inch. That's why it's all really sticking strong. Okay, so I'm just going to fold that other side down so that I have a shot of picking that with my fingers. So same thing. I'm going to lay it over my hinge, and I don't want to go to the very bottom here so that it'll lay down flat. Trying to go nice and even top and bottom. That feels good. It's lining up nicely, so I'm pushing so that that tape on the other side makes contact. This was smart. All I have to do here is pull gently and press down. Okay, so we've got 2 pages in. So I'm going to peel this one completely away. Flip to my other side, peel this one down maybe an inch. There we go. That direction so I can grab it. Last pouch, again, come straight on, slip it over like I'm putting a sock on, And then all the way on the side, stop just maybe 1/16, just to leave a little bit so it'll all lay down nice and flat. All right, there we have it, our 3 pages. Let me clean up some of my mess. I find that if I clean my mess up as I go, I have a better shot at finding my next pieces that I need to do. Okay, we're moving right along. So we are gonna do the front of the first pocket. So that's these 2 pieces right here. So we've got our first piece is 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. So we're gonna go along the 4 3/4 side and we're gonna score it at 1/2. Whoops, just lost a paper clip. Then our next piece, this one's 4 3/4 by 4 1/4. So we're gonna flip, go along the 4 3/4 end and score it at 1/2. I think my battery is running low, so I'm going to need to hit pause. And before we build these, because we're going to score them all together, so I'm going to paper clip. This is set 1 again, so that paper, I'll just leave set 1 right there. So that's page 1, and that's the front side. And I'll come back with a fresh battery, and we'll finish doing all of our scores. And then we will add them to these 3, what they call base pages or signatures. Okay, so we're gonna have a bonus video because I need to start again with a fresh battery, but it'll be worth it. It's gonna be a gorgeous little mini album. I will see you on the next one where we call it scoring our base pages. All right, bye now.